So I have something I want to share with you, and I feel a little uncomfortable with it, but I'm going to share it anyway because it is really important to me that we all shine our light bright, that we claim who we are and we show up fully. I truly believe that we have all been created by something, God, life force, something has created us. And if we are not being our true selves, we are almost like flipping the bird to Creator and saying, you messed up, you made a mistake, you should have done better. Instead of being like, wait, what if I was made to be the magical unicorn? I'm both so special and I'm also not more special than anyone else. But I want to be that. I want to be who I'm supposed to be here. But what happens to us, right? When we're little, we have to adapt to our environment. We will always choose. Gabor Mate always says this, that you have these two primary needs. We have more needs than that, but two primary needs of acceptance and authenticity. And because we are so wired for survival, we will always choose acceptance over authenticity if we are in a situation where we're powerless. And as children, we're powerless. And so what we do is we adapt to our environment, we become who is acceptable, and we do the things that we need to do to cope with our circumstances so that our parents and other people, teachers, peers, siblings, will accept us and we will win their love and approval. We will avoid danger, we'll stay safe. And by doing that, we contort ourselves. We become somebody to fit in. And when we do that, we aren't necessarily our true selves. Now, a lot of people are so accustomed to doing that, they actually think that their masks are their true selves. But what we know when we're going through this awakening process and the sacred journey coming home to ourselves is that we are starting to try to say, well, who am I underneath the conditioning, underneath the defensiveness, underneath the guarding, the masks, the armor, right? And we're trying to pull back the veil to find who we are and then more bravely put ourselves out there. So what is important is that I say to you this, is that, so if that's what I do, and I'm not willing to bravely show you all of me, then what kind of role model am I? So here I am. And this is going to be a long video. It's already 2.5 minutes or whatever. But here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about claiming something that feels uncomfortable. It's been incredibly hard for me to claim that I am a spiritual guide. Because what comes up for me is, who do I think I am? Like, who do I think I am? Like, I'm a spiritual guide. Like, isn't it like, aren't spiritual guides like, I don't know, like people who have gone, like lived in ashrams and trained under Yogananda, or, you know, like who are Buddhist monks or something like that. That's what I'm thinking, you know, that I have to be some spiritual guide. I have to have studied forever. Or like, even like A Course in Miracles or something, like people who study these bodies of work forever. But the truth is, this is what I do with women. And I didn't realize that I did it until much later. And I wanted to share a little bit about the journey that I was on. So I had been a transformational life coach for women for probably like 7 years. And I had been on my own personal growth and healing journey for a very long time, but really intensely for probably about 12 years. When one day, I'm going to give you the shorter version, but one day I felt this inspiration and I sat down and I started typing and I birthed my program called The Whole Soul Way. Now at the time, I don't even think it had a name. And I actually felt a pretty significant vulnerability hangover. If you've ever heard Brene Brown talk about that, like where something came through me that felt really powerful and big. And I had like reverence for it, but I also felt like, whoa. And so I sort of put it away and didn't think about it for a while. Kept on coaching. And then one day I stumbled upon it and I read it and I was like, this is really good. And so I decided to work with a curriculum specialist who helped me to turn that into a program, which is what the Whole Soul Way became. And then again, after that, I thought, I was like, this is magical. But again, I felt this sense of like overwhelm and fear. Because what happens is when we are being called, like fully be the greatest expression in this world, it's scary because it just brings up all of those fears of like, who am I to be this big, who to shine my light this brightly, to be this amazing, right? Or to like step into a role like a spiritual guide or something. So then I started sharing a little bit with my clients, who then kind of encouraged me, why don't you run this program for us? So I did the first time I did it. So then I still was like playing small. I was doing it in this really small way where I was kind of hiding myself, and I was working with people I already knew, but I couldn't believe what was happening with these women. I couldn't believe the transformation they were experiencing, that they were learning how to navigate their emotional triggers, and they weren't as emotionally triggered. They were changing their relationships. They were feeling better about themselves. They were feeling a sense of like connection and safety. They were showing up without their masks, or they were shifting patterns in their relationships. And I was like, whoa. And I'm going to be completely honest with you about something that I don't feel comfortable sharing all the time, is that when I did receive this, I call this like a download, right? This Whole Soul Way program was like a download I got from God, from collective consciousness or universal consciousness. And when I started to teach it, I wasn't good at it. Because even though I knew inner child work and shadow work, and I had done a lot of this, and I had gone through my own healing journey, and I had been teaching women things and coaching, the truth was I hadn't pulled it all together. And so I was teaching something that felt new to me. I look back at the first time I taught it, and I was like, oh, I wasn't very good at that. Like, I had to learn it. And that's the crazy part about when you get a download like that. Like, you actually are new to it too. Like, you look at Byron Katie, and when Byron Katie had her awakening, and then she had this like inspiration for the work. I don't know if you've ever heard of Byron Katie's The Work. You can go to thework.com and see it. She also was like, kind of almost like, what is this thing? And had to learn it, and then started teaching it. And that's what happened to me. And it is hard to admit that that happened to me, because it feels like I don't hear enough people out there in the world who are talking about those things happening. And it's like, you're supposed to claim that you did it. Like, it came from this brain and I did it and I have scientific proof. And so sometimes it's hard for me to admit it, but I wanted to say I'm no more special than anyone else. But let me just wrap this up with the final piece of this that I wanted to share, which is, well, actually two more things. One is, I didn't realize I was guiding women on a spiritual awakening journey until later, when I started reading things. I was in a program, and it was about Mary Magdalene and the gospel according to Mary Magdalene. And by the way, if you want to learn more about Mary Magdalene, I love this book. And but the gospel to Mary Magdalene is the journey of awakening. Jesus taught Mary Magdalene how to awaken. I was like, that seems a lot like the Whole Soul Way. And then I read the Bhagavad Gita. Particularly, I love this particular commentary, 3 books of this. But not just that, I started to do other spiritual teachings, and I was like, oh my God, the Whole Soul Way is really teaching the process in a much more modern way to awaken to the truth of who we are. So I will wrap up with this. I am owning that I am a teacher and a guide on the spiritual awakening journey for women, and that I teach it in a contemporary way that resonates with you and fits into your life. And yes, that's what I do in my own unique way, that my own God-given way. And I want to inspire all of you to show up in your God-given way with your God-given gifts.